Welcome back to season 1 of The Art of Moving the Masses on the Freedom Queen podcast. This is episode number 10, the finale. And the title is The Most Vulnerable Thing You Can Do is Win. I think you're going to really love this episode. It is the finale of all finales. It is something that is slightly polarizing. I don't know why, but it is. And it is going to really close out and solidify everything that we've done in season 1 inside of The Art of Moving the Masses. And for those of you that, by the way, for those of you that signed up for our book club from this podcast, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. There's been so many of you that just join right from listening to these episodes. And if you haven't joined yet and you love the season 1, you're also going to love the book club. I personally recommend that you just pay in full for the year because you get invited to our book club, our book launch happening in person around our Freedom Queen Live conference at the end of November. So if you joined from this season, or if you haven't joined yet, make sure that you get inside of the book club for 2026. I don't know what it will look like in 2027, if it will even exist, because once I launch this book, it's going out there. But welcome. I've had so much fun with you this season, and we will be doing season 2 as well. So let's dive into this episode. So a lot of people talk about vulnerability on the internet. They talk about sharing your vulnerable things. They talk about sharing all of the things that you feel shame around. They talk about exposing yourself on the internet and posting videos of yourself crying and here are all the hard things that I've gone through in order to get to where I want to get in my life. But what I found is that the most vulnerable thing that you can actually do is be at the top of the mountain. Be at the top. Because when you win, you are literally more vulnerable. You are more vulnerable to being attacked at the top of the mountain than you are on the way up. Because no one knows your name when you're on the way up. No one knows who you are when you're not trying and putting yourself out there. Nobody cares about you. When you're at the top of the mountain, people are envious, jealous, they hate you, they want to attack you, they don't like you, even people that used to like you, because now they see you. Before, no one knew your name. Now everyone knows your name, and you are literally more vulnerable to being attacked by people. And everyone talks about, no, being vulnerable, share the things. No. Go win. Go put yourself out there like you're going to win, like you are winning, and then come back and tell me, was that more vulnerable than crying on the internet? Than sharing all of your problems, all of the airing out your dirty laundry on the internet? Yeah, that is more vulnerable. It is not vulnerable to make a post on the internet. It's like, here's why I'm bad, and here's why I messed up, and here's how I'm sad today. It's like, that's not vulnerability. You're literally not vulnerable. You're just sharing what's on your mind. That's so easy to do. You know what it's hard? You know what's hard is to keep going when you're experiencing challenges. To keep showing up for people, to go on a coaching call when you just navigated 500 million difficult things and then go on a coaching call and serve someone else. When you just got hit with the worst news and then you have to put on a 500-person conference. That's vulnerable. Because you're seen more. I feel like I'm yelling right now. I'm heated. I really feel it because it's true. On those upper stages, when you're developing and you're thinking and you're creating, you're not vulnerable. When you're leaning back, you're not vulnerable. When you're in the arena is when you're vulnerable, is when people can attack you and get punched in the face. You don't risk anything by sitting on the sidelines looking at other people. It is risky to be the one who's in the middle of the arena. That's the risk. That's vulnerability. And the world rewards people to really solidify the idea that I've been talking about in the art of moving the masses. The person that moves the world the most is the person in the arena. Despite if they're getting punched in the face, despite if they want to quit, despite if all the challenges are happening, if they're in the arena putting themselves out there, they are the one that is the most magnetic and the most paid. So people want to talk about, I want to be more vulnerable on the internet. Go win. Go win like your life depends on it. Go Try hard. Put in effort. Put yourself out into the marketplace like you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's a vulnerable state. And that's been my experience. People that don't understand this concept will say things to you like, I want you to be more vulnerable. This is the most vulnerable thing I've ever done in my life. I want you to share more about, share? Why don't you just watch what she's doing? This is legendary. She's publicly failing. She's publicly winning. She's publicly trying. That is vulnerability. Vulnerability is not sitting in your house just thinking, hi guys, here's my problems and here's my struggles and here's how I'm crying and Sally hurt my feelings. Boring. Sideline behavior is what that is. When you're losing in business, when you are, okay, I want to define losing for a second here. Losing is quitting. Losing is quitting. Because you can be winning and losing at the same time. You can be in the arena and losing, getting punched in the face, problems, challenges, failure. That person's still winning more than the loser who quit. When you're losing, you are unthreatening. No one's threatened by you when you're losing. When you start to win, suddenly people are looking at you like, ooh, who's this? Something needs to happen. And if you listen to the dark side of being at the top episode, you'll know what I'm talking about. People don't like when you start to win. More vulnerability. When you start to win, you have more power because you have more control over yourself. You're literally more sovereign. You're the freedom queen. And it pisses people off because you have more power, because you trust yourself more. I used to talk about this a lot, this concept of there's you and there's 1,000 yous behind you. It's like when you walk into rooms, imagine there's 1,000 of yous behind you. It's not me, you. If you listen to the last episode, I talked about selling yourself on you. There's 1,000 of yous behind you. That makes people feel intimidated by you. And if they're winning and you start to win, well, certain things will happen. Good players will learn from you. Bad players, depending on how they play the game, depending on what you believe is good and bad. That's for a whole other subject. I have so much to say on what you believe is good and bad. And all of these people make all these righteous, virtuous posts on the internet. Like the way she markets is bad. The way this person markets is bad. It's like, is it? Or are they just playing the game? I always find it fascinating. But when you're losing, you're not threatening people, right? The second you start to win is when you begin to threaten people. That's why it makes it more vulnerable, because literally people want to attack you more. They're like, oh shoot, this person's winning. What can I do? Because they live in a zero-sum game and they believe that by you winning, they lose. That's not how the world works, though. I don't believe in zero-sum game. The Freedom Queen does not believe in zero-sum game. The Freedom Queen believes in the Freedom Queen winning. That's the difference. And you become free. If you were at Freedom Queen Live last year on day 1 during our candle ceremony, I talked about those 3 phases. The first phase is delusion. The first phase is delusion, but scarcity mindset. You are afraid of losing, so you're playing to lose. You're literally afraid of it all. You're afraid of losing. You're afraid of winning. You're losing. So you're a victim, scarcity mindset, lack, loser. Then the middle phase is you're in competition mode. So competition mode is like you're trying to protect yourself. So you care, you're also playing in a zero-sum game. You care if you win and the person loses and that person loses and you win. Like you really care if you're winning or losing or they're losing or winning. Like you care. And you're playing to win. And then there's a third phase, the Freedom Queen phase, where you're playing so big. You're playing to win so big that you're willing to lose it all because there's nothing to lose. That's like the whole thing. It's like the plot twist is that you realize that by being the Freedom Queen, there's actually nothing to lose. That part scares people. That makes people dangerous. But That makes you more vulnerable. But in that phase, you're happier. You're in a freedom state. Everything just comes to you naturally. Everything is working. We want to keep you in that phase. So, oh God, I love this point. The next piece of this is that, I'm bolding that one because that's a good one. The next piece of this is that, this is going to hit. One of the reasons that you don't allow yourself to win as big as you can is because you are unconsciously, without even doing it, afraid of socially outgrowing other people. Because let me put it this way. When you're with a group of people, let's say a group of colleagues and friends, and you're at like a certain social hierarchy, everybody there is keeping you safe. They're reflecting back to you who you are, and you're good, and you feel protected, you feel cared for, you feel loved, which is one of our biggest human desires, right? Like, we don't want to be isolated. We want to be cared for. We want to feel like we're not alone. It's our tribal mindset. We're naturally thinking like that. So if you think about it this way, you outgrow your tribe, well, the tribe's going to turn on you. You have this fear. You're going to be isolated now. You're not going to be with your tribe anymore. So unconsciously, without even realizing it, you don't allow yourself to win because socially you don't want to be isolated. You don't want your clients to stop liking you, your mentor to not want to work with you. You don't want your friends and colleagues to stop talking to you. Like, there's so many things that as a human being, we're tied to that. And I understand that. I remember one of the most difficult things I did many years ago is I had a conversation with someone, and it was a very short conversation. Unfortunately, it didn't really go anywhere after this. And I just said, like, I can't, this is not how I want to have this relationship anymore. It's not going to work like this way. And I knew that by having that conversation meant that relationship was no longer, and that I was going to be socially isolated, and that person and I weren't going to have a relationship in that way. And it's difficult, right? Because you care about people, and I love people. I really do. I love this work. I think that's one of the most difficult things about this work is how much you and I care about people, because if we didn't care about people, we wouldn't be doing this. This work is not easy. Like, it's very courageous to do what you do, okay? If you're a woman who creates content and you serve people and you create new programs, like, it's very courageous to put yourself out there on the internet and then make big money and lead people. That's not normal in the world. It is like the 1% career, what we're doing. You're always putting yourself out there for vulnerability. And I think that that's one of the things that makes this work so difficult, is that we deeply care about the people, the relationships. But in order to really lead people, that also means that you have to be willing to let people go. And your brain is wired to want to be in social groups and tribes. So the second you start to feel like you're outgrowing that group, and you maybe feel like you're going to be isolated from them, you might self-sabotage and do certain things that make you go back to that group. But I'm telling you, it is for the greater good of us, everyone, and the people that you want to stay at that same sort of hierarchy level with. You got to grow because they need you to lead. And if you feel like you have this calling on your life to really lead and be an important person in the world, and by important person, I mean you believe that you're important and you have work that you want to share with people, you have to be willing to outgrow people. You have to be willing, if you were listening to the last 2 episodes, episode 8 and 9, allow yourself to have certain levels of certainty that the world will tell you is wrong. People don't like women that are certain in themselves. Now, one of the things I talk about in my book and in the book club is how to have certain levels of certainty and be influential and be the person that moves the world while also being the light. Because what the way that a lot of the world teaches influence and power is through a really dark lens. And one of the things, what feels like my purpose is to teach people how to do it through a light lens. Like, teach women specifically how you can move the world by doing it by being a light, not by being in darkness, by activating people instead of triggering people. And there's a way to go about that. Your power in this world is a good thing. It's good for the people that you're going to evolve from, because they're going to be the ones hiring you or learning from you in some way. It's going to mirror back to them how they need to grow and evolve. Your clients, mentors, people, everyone, family, relationship. It's going to show them where they're not growing. So you owe that to you, and you also owe that to you. But it would be great for the other people to also see you evolve past that. And it's a vulnerable thing because, again, you're subjected to more problems. You're subjected to people not liking you because now you can't be controlled. Back there, when you were in that social hierarchy on their level, they could control you. They felt like they were relatable to you. Like everything that you did during that level with them made them feel more understood. And now that you're growing, it angers people. And it's interesting because at first when you start to grow, people are usually cheering you on. But in my experience, in my own experience of growing to insane levels in the online space and watching other people, it's people are excited for you at first and then they're not excited for you. But I'm telling you, there's a period where they'll be excited for you again, okay? There is a season you will get through it if you do this work with me and you really stay on the pathway to your greatness. I'm telling you, you'll get through that hard season and there will be another great season again, but you do have to get through that. When you are someone who is a leader and you're really, really winning, you have to be okay with being misunderstood by people. Because when you're leading, let's use the mountain example. When you're leading at the top of the mountain, you're going to experience things that the people at the bottom of the mountain have no idea what they're talking about. So they might judge you for the moves that you're making, but they don't understand. It's like talking with an adult and a kid. It's like the adult understands certain things about life that the child just will not understand. It's like you don't get what we're doing here because you're not there yet. It's like in my current obsession, I have a hobby, which is the first in 5 years, paddle. And apparently I just get like super obsessed with things. That's how my brain works. And I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop playing. I can't stop hiring people to teach me better. Like I'm going to get first place soon. And in paddle, it's like the people at silver and gold level know things that I just don't know. So I don't understand why they're making certain moves. And it's the same thing when you're winning in business, in life. The people that haven't walked the pathway that you're walking, they're going to misunderstand you. They're going to make content about you. They're going to say things about you. They're going to make a whole program that's anti-you. They're going to put an event that's anti-you. Like they're going to do everything to misunderstand you because they literally don't understand you because they haven't walked it. And in my experience, I've seen so many people who have then walked where I've walked and they've been like, I've literally had people come back and apologize and say like, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't realize that this was happening and this was here. And it's like, it's okay. I think that's also a really good sign of leadership is that you're able to not misunderstand them, right? That's the worst thing is if you're a leader, you're not a leader. If people are misunderstanding you and you're misunderstanding them, it's like, no, I do understand you. I understand why you think that about me. I understand why you're mad at me for winning. I get that because I've been there. That's usually why if you ever see like people create hateful content, usually the person that's winning like doesn't really clap back or say anything. Or if they do, it's like funny or it feels like a high frequency because it's like, I understand why you're mad about this. Okay, but you don't understand me. So we're never going to be on that level. We're never going to see eye to eye until you're at that level. And that's what makes it vulnerable. Is as a leader, you're so vulnerable to those attacks. That's the most vulnerable thing. The most vulnerable thing that I've ever done is like continue to show up even when I didn't want to keep showing up anymore and had a lot of problems going on. Now, there's a way to share and disclose information with people, but that's not the type of vulnerability that I'm talking about. That's about being open. That's about being honest with your audience and having conversations with them that allow them to learn. I do this a lot with my close proximity clients. It's like so many of them that are scaling now to, I have a client, my mastermind, that just had her $100,000 week. I have another client that had a $500,000 month in sales in her launch. And another client just had her first $300,000 cash month, her highest month ever. It's like they are experiencing things that most people will never experience. And that's why it's so important to be around a mentor that has walked through those things so that they can help you. I can help you actually navigate what it's like to be vulnerable while winning. And it took me a little bit of time to actually solidify that for myself. I would say about year 2, I started to buy into this belief that like being vulnerable meant being softer. No, that soft season made me depressed. Soft season made me more relatable. It made me hate business. It made me dislike women. It made me want to hate the industry. It made me want to like not do anything. Winning, going for it is what activates me. And the second I realized that is like my whole life changed. My energy levels shot through the roof. My charisma and magnetism amplified. My income also through the roof. Like everything went up because I found that the thing that moved me the most, the thing that made me feel the most alive was winning and progressing at every new level inside of my life. Not being relatable, soft, all of that, like it didn't do anything for me. Being a woman who was willing to put herself in the arena, willing to stand on stage in the spotlight and mess it up was the most vulnerable thing that I've ever done, and that I continue to do this to this day. You owe it to yourself to win. You owe it to yourself to really experience what life is like when you're climbing to the top of the mountain and you're getting punched. And it's like, oh my God, this sucks. Like my husband and I, we often pray for challenges. We pray for God to come into our life and shift it up. And God does it all the time. I bet I think it's happening right now. It's the hindsight work, right? You can't really see it until you see it in the past. I pray that you allow yourself to really win in 2026, that you allow yourself to go to the top of the mountain. You allow yourself to be so alive that you're vulnerable to the attacks of the world. And that you find out through that you have so much strength. And if you want someone to do it side by side with you, who's also walked through things, then I invite you to join some of my upper tier mentorship programs like the Infinite Year-Long Mastermind, where I have walked with women through some of the craziest things in life. And I've also helped them scale not just their income to multiple $1 million in their business, but also in how they see themselves and their power, their influence, their confidence, and their certainty, and win at levels that most people say, that's unbelievable. Yes, we know it's unbelievable for you. So, Freedom Queen, this is it for season 1 inside of the Freedom Queen podcast. I've absolutely loved spending this time with you. And if you loved this season, then I recommend that you join our book club. The link is inside of the show notes. The book club is our monthly experience where every month I do a live stream on similar topics to these, but I dive even deeper and have conversations with you. I get to actually talk to you on Zoom, and we do one every month. And sometimes I give you special bonuses like access to different programs and fun surprises there that nobody else gets access to. And then you also get a monthly transcript. So the monthly transcript is a chapter of the book that I'm currently writing right now. I haven't released the title of the book. The frame of the book club is The Art of Moving the Masses. So you do know that it is about influence and moving people and being a highly influential woman and getting people to say yes to you and getting the world to say yes to you, anything that you want in life. But every month you get a new transcript sent to you. And you get to dive into it, and sometimes I'll ask for questions like, oh, what should the chapter title be? Feedback here, what do you think? And you get to go on the journey of writing this book with me. And then in November at our annual Freedom Queen Live conference that I do every single year, where hundreds of women gather together at the end of the year to blast off into the next year, you get to come to, when you pay in full for the year, our book launch party. which is going to be so fun. Like, I'm going to be signing the books. You and I are going to be like, oh my God, there's a book. You're going to get a copy of the book in person and come to this really, really fun book launch party in person. So thank you for being a part of this season 1, The Art of Moving the Masses. If you loved this work, then I invite you to join our book club. And if you're serious about scaling your business, then I invite you to DM me the word infinite to apply for the Infinite Mastermind, which is my year-long mastermind space for scaling to 6 and multi-6-figure cash months. Freedom Queen, season 1 is complete. I think I need to throw a party. I love you, and I'll see you in the Freedom Queen world.